What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing a Pokemon that earlier this season I said felt like one of my worst ever GBL investments as I built a level 50 Mega Altaria for the Mega Master League, since its unique Dragon and Fairy typing allowed it to completely wall common threats like Palkia and Mega Gyarados. However, its stat product and much slower pacing meant that actually it didn't even beat those Pokemon in the 2-shield scenario, or even slightly behind on energy in the 1-shield scenario. But of course, now that I have a level 50 Altaria, I had to give it a try in the Open Ultra League, and I'm happy to say that it's so much better here. At level 50, it only reaches 2266 CP, but its stat product is very comparable to the likes of Golisopod and Annihilate. I wasn't sure what to pair it with, but of course we've just had a week of the Jungle Cup, where Altaria and Shadow Scizor formed a very strong core, so I thought, you know what, let's just give that a try in the Ultra League, and I paired it with a Shadow Dragonite to make an ABB style team. Overall, I went very positive on the day, and it felt like I was making game-winning catches in basically every single battle, and it might have something to do with today's video sponsor, G Fuel. G Fuel is an energy drink aimed specifically towards gamers and is designed to help improve your energy levels, focus, endurance, and reaction time, which will all help you to make more game-winning catches like you'll see throughout this video. G Fuel has also just released its 2.0 formula, a new and improved version with upgraded ingredients, more aminos, double the antioxidants, and probably the most notable change, it no longer has that slightly chalky aftertaste, and you won't get the powder settling at the bottom of your shaker. So it should taste a lot smoother than the original version. I say should because I've actually not tried it yet, as I'll be having my first few sips and sharing my live reaction right now in this video. Alright, so right now I've got the Hula Colada 1.0 version, I've also got Miami Nights, the 2.0 version, and we're going to compare them basically just to see how smooth the new one is. Is it much better? Is it really worth the hype? So firstly, we've got the Hula Colada here, and you probably can't see this that well because the lighting's not great here, but this does look very cloudy. If you look closer, which you probably won't be able to see on the camera, but you can see a lot of these sort of powder particles just floating around there. I have mixed this within the last couple of minutes, but you know, eventually if you leave it for longer, all the powder will sort of start to settle towards the bottom, which isn't ideal. Whereas on the other hand, and again, you probably won't be able to see this that well, but this is the 2.0 version, and this just looks so much smoother. Obviously, I've got a black shaker here, so probably not the best choice on my part, but in terms of just looking different, you can actually notice that. But let's just see how the texture feels. Does it taste different? So firstly, obviously, they are slightly different flavors there. The Miami Nights is a strawberry, pineapple, and coconut, whereas the Hula Colada one is just pineapple and coconut. But here, you definitely do notice a slightly chalky aftertaste. For me personally, I don't really care about that too much, but I know for some people that will actually be quite off-putting for them. Whereas now we're going to try the Miami Nights 2.0 version for the very first time. And yeah, straight away you notice just how much smoother that is. Honestly, I would say that this is fine, but after drinking this version, this is just so smooth. So for anyone who has really been off-put by the sort of chalky aftertaste of the original formula, this is a massive upgrade for you. Now, to celebrate the release of the 2.0 formula, G Fuel are giving me a tub to give away to you guys for free, which I'll be doing in a future live stream later this month. But if any of you guys use my creator code Callum, which will get you 20% off your order when purchasing any G Fuel products, it will unlock more free tubs that I can give away in that live stream. There's also a Halloween buy one get one free offer right now for selected spooky flavors, including many 2.0 flavors, but that will be ending in just a couple of days time. So if you are interested, make sure you act fast. Unfortunately, my code won't work whilst the buy one get one free sale is active, but you can still support me if you use the link in the description or in the pinned comment, as I will still get paid commissions. Anyways, this has gone on for way longer than I was expecting, so with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. Which Pokemon do you most regret powering up for the Ultra League / Master League rather than keeping it below 1500 CP to use for the Great League? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so go into the first battle, leading shiny Shadow Scizor into Como-O. So of course, this is an okay matchup for me, but I do have only resisted charge moves to throw. So initially, I'm going to stay in here. Of course, the opponent will be firing off an upper hand. They throw straight away, so I assume they're going to do the same thing for the second charge move. And now I'm going to bank all of that energy, swap into Altaria, and make a catch of that second upper hand. Now the opponent comes in with Empoleon. By the way, for the most part, I did use Shadow Dragonite as the safe swap, but for this battle, I am, of course, swapping into Altaria as I was catching that charge move. Here, I'm going to go for Flamethrower. Flamethrower is going to hit for neutral damage. It doesn't really hit that hard, of course. Altaria in the Ultra League, not going to hit particularly hard unless we're hitting for super effective, but the opponent, unfortunately, barely doesn't get the KO there, meaning they can, of course, go for one extra fast move to farm me down. Trailblaze gonna be shielded by the opponent. I'm now gonna shield here. I could, of course, go for a Night Slash there, but I didn't want the opponent to make a catch. Now they swap back into Como. Oh, they are gonna be one away from the next upper hand. So once again, I'm gonna go and swap, catch the next upper hand onto my Shadow Dragonite. And of course, that is gonna be resisted. It does decent damage there despite being resisted, but I can Dragon Breath farm it down. Now the opponent is waiting at Switch Clock. They're going to come in with the Belly Bolt. And here I'm going to look to overfarm. I'm going to farm for the Superpower just before they do reach a Parabolic Charge. Superpower does big damage there. It will force them to throw a charge move. And of course, now that I'm debuffed, Parabolic Charge easily gets the KO there. I'm now going to look to overfarm with my Shadow Scissor. We're at one away from back-to-back. Night Slash gets the KO there. And of course, actually, no, never mind. We were two away from back-to-back. But either way, the second Night Slash will be taken out in Empoleon. And I'm able to take that game. So, GG stop on there, into the next battle, we're going to see Shadow Scissor into Guzzlord. So once again, a bit of an awkward matchup where I am going to resist the fast move damage, but the charge moves are, of course, on my end, going to be resisted, as we've got Night Slash and Trailblaze. They swap, trying to snipe with a single Incinerate, but I'm able to swap out, come in with the Shadow Dragonite. I play very risky, I throw on CMP here, but I can win CMP, and also the opponent does let the Thunder Punch go through. They go for a bait there with a Torch Song, and at this point, I'm also going to, once again, look to throw on CMP. Thunder Punch is going to get the KO here, so the opponent does use their final shield. At this point, you know what? I'm going to double shield my Shadow Dragonite. I'm going to maintain alignment here, go for the Dragon Breath farm down, and let's see, the opponent's going to come in with a Clefable. So Clefable, a bit tricky for me. I'm going for Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch, going to do some okay damage there. I'm now going to swap back into Shadow Scissor, go straight for Trailblaze. Trailblaze is going to boost up my attack stat, and the opponent stays in here to fire off a charge move. The opponent goes for a Meteor Mash there, rather than a Swift, so potentially Meteor Mash and Moonblast or Dazzling Gleam as the second charge move. We come in with Altaria, and we can just barely outpace them to the charge move there. Just one turn difference between them reaching a Moonblast. They come back in with the Guzzlord, and here I'm able to swap perfectly, catching what I assume to be a Dragon Claw, which would have hit for huge damage up against my Altaria. But now, of course, I can fire off the Sky Attack. Sky Attack doesn't quite get the KO there, but it puts them into Dragon Breath farm down range, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG stop on there, into the next battle. We're going to see Shadow Scissor into a Gastrodon. So, actually not the worst matchup for me, as I do have access to Trailblaze, but I've got two flying type Pokemon in the back. We might as well swap out there. We're going to swap into Shadow Dragonite. Dragonite can grab an early shield advantage. The opponent is going to go straight for the Icy Wind, and we've got the shield. We're actually happy to just let this move go through. Come back in with the Shadow Scissor. We can overfarm ever so slightly in this matchup, and then I will go for, I believe, 6 bullet punches, fire off a Night Slash on the CMP tie with their next charge move. Very unlikely, but the opponent could be running Mystical Fire, so I don't want to take any risks there. We're going to swap into Altaria, and they've got Galarian Moltres in the back. Now, of course, Galarian Moltres, not the bulkiest Pokemon ever, but Altaria not going to hit particularly hard here, and you can see even 2 Sky Attacks will not be enough damage to get the KO. I need a lot more Dragon Breath damage, so actually what I'm going to do here is I'm not even going to bother throwing just yet, as a Sky Attack, I recognize, will not get the KO. Might as well continue to overfarm, and the opponent is going to make a brilliant catch there, catching onto their Gastrodon, but this is fine. This is the matchup that I want for my Altaria, so we're going to go ahead, overfarm, fire off another Sky Attack. Sky Attack gets them very low, and the opponent is very close to back-to-back charge moves. They go for Body Slam. I'm going to go for a few Dragon Breaths. I swap. I catch the next Body Slam onto my Shadow Scissor. Body Slam is resisted. We can go for a resisted Bullet Punch farm down, coming out with the Trailblaze loaded and also minimal HP, meaning Galarian Moltres has to shield here. They do get the farm down, but they don't get much energy, meaning Altaria can outpace them to the Sky Attack. And of course, Sky Attack gets the KO from that range, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG stop on there, into the next battle, we see another Guzzlord in the lead. So once again, awkward matchup for me. I am gonna, well, actually the opponent's gonna swap out into Nidoqueen. I'm gonna respond with my Altaria. I do expect Nidoqueen to be running Stone Edge, however, this is a non-shadow, And of course, it's Altaria, so Stone Edge does big damage there, but they're never going to be able to farm me down. So we can go straight for a Sky Attack. Sky Attack, once again, not dealing that much damage, but the opponent is going to allow me to reach another Sky Attack here. So Sky Attack number 2, we'll be getting the KO from that range, and let's see what they want to do. The opponent's going to come in with a Corviknight, which is a little bit dangerous for me as they're going to get a massive farm here, but they will still need to throw a charge move before, of course, they can take me out here. Of course, Sand Attacks are double resisted, they're non-stab, but the opponent farms up to basically 100 energy before throwing an Air Cutter. Air Cutter also gets the boost, which is not ideal as I've got 2 very glassy Pokemon remaining, but I'm going to call a bait here as the opponent is going to go for another Air Cutter there. This time, they don't get the boost, and hopefully this should be another Air Cutter. However, I am going to shield anyway. I'm going to go for a superpower here just in case the opponent tried to make a catch onto Guzzlord. I'm now going to swap out into my Shadow Scissor, but the opponent does this time make that catch perfectly onto Guzzlord. Either way, I would throw resisted charge boost. However, I would have preferred to go for Trailblaze, as of course I can boost up my attack stat. The opponent goes for Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing does a lot more damage than I was expecting. You can see my Shadow Scissor IVs aren't the best as it is a shiny Shadow, but we get the full farm down. But unfortunately, I'm at 1 HP, meaning they can actually Sand Attack, farm me down before I can even throw the charge move there. And now, once again, calling the bait, but they've got so much energy here. I need to reach back-to-back charge moves or get a full Dragon Breath farm down before that. And unfortunately, I'm getting neither as the opponent can outpace me to yet another Air Cutter. Air Cutter gets the KO, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up on there, into the next battle. We're going to see a Lapras in the lead. So this is a fine matchup for my Shadow Scissor. The opponent's going to swap out straight away into Primeape. I'm going to respond with the Altaria, and I will no-shield the first move. The opponent isn't actually going to farm up to a potential Ice Punch, and again, they're not going to do that. So this is a very easy call for me. If they farmed to a potential Ice Punch, honestly, I'd probably have to respect that, especially now they are boosted, but they make my life a lot easier as they don't farm to it. We can go for a Sky Attack, and the opponent is going to overfarm, allow me to reach a second Sky Attack before they throw their energy. So Altaria grabbing a 2 shield advantage. At this point, I'm happy to let it go down. They will be reaching 2 more charge moves here if I try to shield. So at this point, I'm going to come in with the Shadow Scissor. I recognize I need the Bullet Punch damage. I need to farm them down before they do reach yet another Rage Fist. We shield once, we get that full farm down. They're going to come in with a Belly Bolt, so I'm going to go straight for Trailblaze. Trailblaze, of course, going to do slightly more damage than the Night Slash. I will swap out anyway, so I wasn't looking to boost up my attack stat. I just wanted to guarantee some damage up against the Belly Bolt. Also, we force them to swap back into their Lapras, and this is fine with me. We can come in, of course, use my shield here. The opponent does full send the Ice Beam, so I can now look to overfarm. I'm not going to get too greedy with the overfarm and risk actually getting hit by another Ice Beam. So they come back in with the Belly Bolt. We can go straight for Superpower. I will just barely outpace them. Superpower does big damage. I'm able to swap, make the catch onto my shiny Shadow Scissor. I don't know if I necessarily needed that catch, but either way, we can Dragon Breath, farm them down there, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's top on there, into the next battle. We're going to see a Skeledirge in the lead. So, of course, not a great matchup for me to see. I'm going to swap into Shadow Dragonite, and once again, I play to a CMP tie. Very risky here, but the opponent is once again going to stay in with that Skeledirge, throw straight away, and I can now, of course, shield. We've landed the Thunder Punch. The opponent's going to swap into Empoleon. So here, of course, both my charge moves would hit for super effective. However, Superpower guarantees, if they shield this, that a Drill Peck should be enough damage to get the KO. So, we're not giving any extra farm than we need to. We can come back in with the Shadow Scissor, and of course, they've got Skeledirge. There's no reason for me to shield my Scissor. The opponent actually goes for a Drill Peck there, rather than going for a Hydro Cannon, which is a questionable decision, but we're going to go for a Night Slash. Night Slash is going to connect, and I can throw a second one straight away. Night Slash, number 2, gets the KO there. We swap straight away into Altaria, and the opponent is, of course, running Disarming Voice, but Altaria a lot bulkier than the Shadow Dragonite. I'm going to no-shield the first one. Can we commit to a farm down? Oh, unfortunately, just barely not able to do so, meaning they get off a last-second Disarming Voice, and the opponent's going to have a Torterra in the back. Now, Torterra, I assume, probably going to have Stone Edge for coverage. They've got a Purified one, so it'd be very interesting to see if they were running Return. Either way, I'm not going to panic here. I'm firing off Sky Attack, number 2, and we are going to swap out and perfectly catch the charge move. Is it the Stone Edge? Yes, it is. It gets the KO there, but now I can reach another Sky Attack with the Altaria, and of course, Altaria takes out Torterra, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see another shiny Shadow Lapras in the lead. So the opponent is going to stay in the lead matchup this time around, which is fine with me. The opponent is going to fire off a Sparkling Aria. I'm going to shield the first charge move here. I will then return with a Trailblaze. I'm not going to overfarm too much just because Trailblaze is going to boost up my attack stat. I want to boost up that attack stat fairly early. Now I'm going to swap, make the catch onto my Altaria, catching what I assume to be a Sparkling Aria, and it is the Sparkling Aria. Now the opponent is going to swap eventually into Florges, but they do bank a ton of energy on that Lapras. So we've got to be very careful about that. We go for Sky Attack. You can see Sky Attacks, they really don't do that much damage. But we get to Sky Attack number 2. Sky Attack is going to get them deep into their health range, and the opponent will throw a charge move. Moonblast gets the KO there very comfortably. We can come in with our Shadow Scissor. Presumably, they've got Chilling Water here, which is going to be fine. I can tank this. It is, of course, non-stab, but they swap back into Lapras. I was predicting the swap there, but unfortunately not able to react in time. So we are going to fire off the Night Slash. I'm very close to back-to-back charge moves here. Night Slash actually going to grab the final shield there. I can throw another Night Slash into the shiny Shadow Lapras. Night Slash gets the KO there, and we actually get the boost, and that is huge for me. The opponent thinking about what to do, they come in with a Galarian Weezing. We're going to swap out there, unfortunately getting off as much damage as we could with the bullet punches, but I was forced to swap there. The opponent fires off the Sludge, but I can go straight for Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch gets the KO there. The opponent will be able to Fairy Wind, farm me down, but Shadow Scissor gets a simultaneous KO there, and I'm able to tie that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see a Shadow Typhlosion in the lead. So, this is going to be one of the first battles I did with the team. I swap into Shadow Dragonite. I do no shield the Thunder Punch as I can tank it, but the opponent can now come in with a Togekiss. We're going to go for Thunder Punch here. Thunder Punch is going to hit for super effective, but they actually shield that up there, which means I'm going to come in with the Shadow Scissor. I don't really intend on shielding because it does have such a useless and hopeless matchup up against the Shadow Typhlosion. However, what that does mean is they can reach back-to-back Aura Spheres here. First one does big damage. I have to go straight for a Night Slash as I'm going to look to throw it on CMP. Night Slash is resisted, but hopefully that does put them into eventually farm down range for my Altaria. The opponent swaps out straight away back into Typhlosion. They will reach another Thunder Punch. Altaria will be tanking this a lot more comfortably than the Shadow Dragonite did. However, we don't know what they've got in the back. Potentially should have shielded there, but either way, I'm going to go for Sky Attack, get the KO there, and their final Pokemon is a Shadow Feraligatr. Now, unfortunately, this is where the damage output of the Altaria is very underwhelming. We do connect with a charge move, but the opponent realizes they don't need to throw any charge moves. I've got 2 shields. They're not going to give me an opportunity to use them as they commit to a full fast move farm down. I do reach a last-second Sky Attack here, but it doesn't make a difference. Sky Attack grabs the final shield. They get that Shadow Claw farm down, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up on there into the next battle. You see Greninja in the lead. So this is not the best matchup for the Shadow Scissor as they do resist the fast move damage. I swap into Dragonite and I'm able to bait out a Florges. Now the opponent is going to no shield the first one. They throw on CMP here and the opponent is going to go straight for a Trailblaze, which is a very interesting decision there. As of course Trailblaze is going to be double resisted. It boosts up their attack stat. But Thunder Punch is going to be shielded and I can reach yet another Thunder Punch. So potentially grabbing both shields here. We do grab both shields. We swap into Shadow Scissor, and we force the opponent to throw some energy. The opponent is very low to the point where actually we can probably just farm them down with the Altaria. The opponent comes back in with Greninja. They get the snipe there. Unfortunately, Night Slash barely doesn't get the KO there, but we don't reach a departing charge move of our own. Either way, we've got 2 shields. We've got Altaria. We should be looking fine here, depending on what they've got in the back. I'm going to no-shield the first move here as they go for a Night Slash, but unfortunately, they do get the boost, so I will definitely respect the damage from this next Night Slash here. Night Slash going to be shielded. I'm going to continue to overfarm here. I don't mind using both my shields as Altaria. I am just going to continue to massively overfarm, farming up to very close to actually over 100 energy right now. Sky Attack is going to get the KO there, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Nidoqueen. So once again, I am expecting Nidoqueen to have Stone Edge, in which case, I'm going to go for the Sky Attack there. I'm going to look to overfarm. I'm able to swap, and once again, have I caught the Stone Edge? The opponent full sends the Stone Edge. At this point, all we have to do here is farm up to back-to-back charge moves. The opponent does make a very nice catch there, but actually, that's fine with me. I believe Florges still had some residual energy there, which means I completely get rid of it. We can go for a second Sky Attack, taking out the Nidoqueen, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see a Florist in the lead this time around, so a great lead matchup for me. The opponent safe swaps into Belly Bolt. I'm actually going to stay in here. I'm going to go straight for a Night Sash, just looking to either grab an early shield, as usually they do shield the first charge move, but actually we end up getting the boost. So now I'm going to stay in with the Shadow Scissor. I'm going to shield the Parabolic Charge, and I'm going to go for a Trailblaze. Trailblaze is going to do big damage, despite the fact that they, of course, have just boosted up the defense, and now I will swap to catch the next charge move. Of course, if I swapped into Dragonite, I could tank that. However, that would give the Florist the opportunity to fully farm me down. Whereas now I will force energy, and the opponent is once again going to go straight for Trailblaze. So Trailblaze, they, of course, are not going to do much damage there. They will boost up their attack stat, but that's absolutely fine with me. The opponent is now going to fire off the next charge move. However, if they go for another Trailblaze, Trailblaze still double resistant. It doesn't do much damage. We come in with the Shadow Scissor. I can actually reach a Night Slash before the opponent throws a charge move. They let the Florist go down there, and their final Pokemon is going to be Empoleon. Now, the opponent is going to make a very nice catch there. I didn't want to throw Night Slash, as I thought they would try and catch straight away, but actually, they make an even better catch there. They get a huge farm down, and we are in a tricky situation. Of course, Dragonite is going to be able to tank one charge move, assuming they're not on Blizzard, which is very unlikely. So I no-shield the first one there, and at this point, I will probably need to make a catch. Either that, or I need Dragonite to put them into range where Flamethrower will get the KO. But here we throw on CMP. I'm going to shield this. It's very hard to keep track of the energy, but I'm able to swap out, catch the charge move onto my Altaria. Drill Peck gets the KO, and Shadow Dragonite able to outpace them to the last second superpower. Superpower gets the KO there, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up there into the next battle. We've got Shadow Sizzle into a Shadow for Alligator. So once again, not the best matchup for me, just as they will resist the fast move damage. We're going to swap into Dragonite once again. They're going to go for a resisted Hydro Cannon here, and they will eventually look to swap out, trying to catch a Thunder Punch onto Shadow Swampert, but that's fine with me. I hold on to the energy. Superpower does big damage here, and I go for a Thunder Punch. This is a little bit risky here, just in case this doesn't KO. It actually doesn't, but one more Dragon Breath gets the farm down there. I'm actually not sure why I did just go for a Thunder Punch there. Should have just played it safe and gone for another superpower. Either way, we do get the KO there. I swap out straight away into Altaria. They end up baiting again with a Hydro Cannon, but they did at least farm up to the Ice Beam this time around. So I did respect the damage. The opponent once again farming up to a potential Ice Beam, so I will shield this, and the opponent does full send it this time around. Now they come in with a Talonflame, and here I tried to catch a charge move straight away onto my Shadow Sizzle. It backfires. The opponent will still need to throw, otherwise I reach a Night Slash, but they're on Flame Charge, which is definitely not ideal. But we're going to come back in with the Altaria. I don't know what that other charge move is, so I go for the Sky Attack here. Sky Attack, of course, is going to grab the final shield. I throw the next one straight away, and the opponent actually didn't throw there, maybe expecting me to swap out and make a catch, but I don't do that. So the opponent is going to throw here. The opponent goes for Flame Charge. I actually don't know why they did that, and I should have just stayed in there, because now the opponent gets the snipe, and the opponent just barely, with 1 HP and a dream, hanging on with the Shadow for Alligator. Hydro Cannon gets the KO, and unfortunately I do lose that game. It's a bit of a strange end game there, but a very entertaining one at least. Into the next battle, we're going to see a Shadow Giratina in the lead. Sorry, a regular Giratina up against my shiny Shadow Sizzle. Gonna no-shield the first move. They actually go for a Shadow Sneak there, which is fine. We tank that fairly comfortably. I can go for Night Slash. Night Slash is going to be shielded. We get the attack boost, and that is very nice for me. I'm going to go for another Night Slash here. Night Slash going to be double shielded by the opponent. So at this point, surely they've got something weak to Sizzle in the back. So I'm going to shield the Shadow Sneak. I'm then going to go for a Night Slash. Once again, throwing straight away here. Night Slash will get the KO, and let's see what they've got in the back. They come in with a Virizion, so I'm going to swap out straight into Altaria. They come in with the Belly Bolt, and we should be looking fine here. I can go straight for Flamethrower. Flamethrower, not going to do that much damage, unfortunately. It is non-stab. The opponent is likely just going to go for a Parabolic Charge, in which case I'm going to no-shield this. It doesn't do too much damage here. Of course, it does boost up the defense, meaning it's going to be very difficult for me to take out the Belly Bolt with my Altaria, but I can swap out, force the opponent to throw their energy into my Scizor. Of course, once again, they're going to boost up the defense there, but that's still fine with me. We can come in with the Shadow Dragonite. I've got a Sky Attack loaded on my Altaria, so we should be looking fine. Again, the worst thing they can do here is throw a Stone Edge from the Virizion, so I will no shield. I'm going straight for that Superpower. Superpower probably won't quite get the KO anymore, but I put them into one Dragon Breath farm down range, and this game is certainly over. I will shield just in case a Sky Attack doesn't get the KO. However, I actually didn't realize Altaria was slow loaded. We have nearly back-to-back Sky Attacks. We only need the one. We can Dragon Breath, farm down Virizion, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG top over there into the next battle. You can see a Shadow Extra Drill in the lead. So I'm going to swap into one of my flying types in the back. The opponent is going to respond with a Zapdos. Now, this is an interesting matchup for me. Of course, this is a non-Shadow Zapdos. They fire off the Drill Peck. I probably could tank that, but I actually don't know how much damage that would do. So I do shield. I just play it safe there. Thunder Punch, not dealing too much damage, but I can throw a second Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch, number 2, will be grabbing a shield from the opponent. And if I want to, I can flip switch advantage. So I will double shield here. The opponent then comes in with a Shadow Drift Limb, but we're going to go straight for Thunder Punch. Excuse me there, Thunder Punch is going to be shielded. I thought I'd reach another Thunder Punch, but unfortunately that is not the case, meaning the opponent goes and full sends the Shadow Ball there. I'm forced to swap out, and now, of course, presumably they've got Icy Wind, full coverage, which is going to hit for double super effective damage into my Altaria. We're not in the best position here, but we do still have some play. They go for Icy Wind. The opponent's going to swap back into Zapdos just to be farmed down, and here I make a huge mistake. What I should be doing, if they come in with the Excadrill, is swapping into my Dragonite, but I go for Flamethrower. I've been debuffed. That does not get the KO. Dragonite would have reached a superpower, but now I'm forced to throw some energy. And of course, Thunder Punch, whilst it does get the KO there, I now have no energy for the Drift Limb. They can Astonish, farm me down, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's to opponent there, very winnable game for me. But into the next battle, we're going to see a Shadow Golurk. So this time, once again, going to swap into my Shadow Dragonite, and the opponent's going to come in with a Belly Bolt. Now here, I am actually going to bait with a Thunder Punch here, expecting to grab a shield with the first charge move, and we do grab that shield. Unfortunately, they do throw before I get off the next charge move here. Parabolic Charge doesn't get the KO, however, so I will fire off a Superpower. They've, of course, boosted up their defense there. Superpower does decent damage. It puts them into range where I should still get the KO with my Shadow Scissor with just a single charge move. We're going to come in with the Scissor. I'm going to shield the first charge move here, and then I will farm out to basically back-to-back Night Slashes. At this point, they are definitely in range, where, of course, Night Slash will get the KO. If I'm up 2 back-to-back here, Night Slash takes out the Belly Bolt. They're going to come in with Virizion, so I swap out straight away into Altaria. They're going to come back in with the Golurk, but this is a fine matchup for the Altaria. Of course, Mud Slaps are double resisted. You can see they are barely chipping away at our health. We're going to go for a Sky Attack. Sky Attack grabs the final shield, and this is just going to be another Shadow Punch. So Altaria is going to get very low, but I don't need to shield this. I can go straight for the next Sky Attack. Of course, Sky Attack should be getting the KO up against the very glassy Shadow Golurk. Now they come back in with Virizion, and I should be looking fine. The opponent is going to go for a Sacred Sword here, and unfortunately, I'm actually not going to reach the Sky Attack. I believe I probably lose CMP there. So I swap, I cash the charge move onto Shadow Scissor, and they've put me into range where they can farm me down, but they don't get a huge farm, meaning Night Slash puts them into range where certainly a Sky Attack will get the KO here. Sky Attack, double super effective. It takes out Virizion, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the final battle, I believe, of this video, leading into a Tentacruel. So this is an okay matchup for me, of course. Both our fast moves are going to be resisted. I am double resisting their fast move damage. We go straight for Trailblaze. Trailblaze, gonna be no shield. The opponent swaps into a Shadow Typhlosion. I am able to swap out there, transfer the Incinerate damage onto my Altaria, and the opponent is going to be going straight for a Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch not doing too much damage there. We can actually tank a second Thunder Punch here. So we go for Sky Attack. Sky Attack grabs the shield. I'm not going to bother shielding because they will actually outpace me to the next Thunder Punch, but the opponent doesn't quite put me into farm down range, meaning we can go for Sky Attack number 2, and Sky Attack is going to grab the final shield from the opponent. At this point, I don't switch out. I do allow them to farm me down. We come in with a Shadow Dragonite, but this is okay. The opponent is going to go for another Thunder Punch, which I'm able to tank. They swap into a Steelix, but we can go straight for Superpower. Superpower, of course, get it hit for super effective damage. It does big damage, and now all I need to do on my Shadow Scissor is farm up to back-to-back charge moves. They go straight for a Psychic Fangs there. That's fine with me. Doesn't do too much damage there. I'm going to shield the next one in case it is a crunch. It is just another Psychic Fangs bait there, but it doesn't really matter. We farmed up so much energy, so if they do come back in with the Typhlosion, of course, I can go straight for a Night Slash. I go for Trailblaze. I boost up my attack stat. I now fire off the Night Slash. Night Slash gets the KO there. They come back in with the Tentacruel, and I will be shielding, of course. The opponent is going to fire off a Scald, and the opponent gets to a second Scald on CMP, but Scizor winning CMP. Trailblaze gets the KO there, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.